We still do 7 NUFC Matters shows for free a week. But if you want to support the channel, there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast or video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications option. Hit the thanks button to buy a super sticker. You can do this on the live chat too. You can also join our Patreon page or buy us a coffee at the link in all of our video descriptions below. We are also looking for sponsors. If you want our latest advertising rates and how you can get involved, then email John at nufcmatters1892@gmail.com. Thanks for watching.
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright when they come and say to you, you're the only thing that makes us all believe.
Good afternoon. Welcome along to a live Q&A with me, Steve Wraith from NUFC Matters, and hope everybody is fitting well and looking forward to tonight's Carabao Cup game against Tottenham Hotspur at St James's Park. Before we get into the questions, I've got some very sad news. Unfortunately, we've lost a dear follower, somebody who used to watch the podcast and was quite active in the chat. And I'll just put this up here now from his good lady Kaylee. Gary Finnegan has passed away. Some of you may know Gary suddenly took poorly Sunday night with the worst headache of his life, which turned out to be an aggressive brain tumour we didn't know that he had, which had bled onto his brain. He had emergency surgery on Monday morning to remove it. Tuesday, we were hopeful because he was breathing on his own and starting to move his legs and hands. Things took a dip Wednesday night with swelling on his brain, which ended up causing too much damage. Last night, on the 24th of October, at 12 minutes past 5, we lost Gary, my amazing, gorgeous husband and the best daddy to Olivia, Zach and Leo. We're absolutely heartbroken. I never ever want to do life without him, and I don't never ever want to do life without him, and I don't know how I'm going to. I already miss you so much, Gary. I promised I'd never leave your side, and I didn't, right till the end. None of this is fair. You didn't deserve it. So much to live for. The loveliest person with a heart of gold. You will live on in the kids and forever in my heart. They will never forget you. Thank you for the last 14 and a half years. You're my best friend and the love of my life, and you always will be. We love you so much. Sleep tight till we meet again. There's plenty of family up there to look after you all. Very sad. Our heart goes out to Kaylee and the kids. And although we never actually met Gary F., it's really, really sad when we get notified of people who are quite active in the chat. And we've met a lot of people in the chat over the years. Met a lot of you. And, we've made friends with quite a few of you as well. And it is a family. And at times when I could have easily just stopped making this podcast, producing this podcast, I've had heartfelt emails, messages by text, inboxes on various forms of social media saying, please, Steve, keep going, even if it's only a couple of weeks, because it's very important. And Gary was one of those people. He's reached out to me in the past during the takeover, and he's somebody who I never got that opportunity to meet. But you feel as if you know somebody when they spend a lot of time commenting and having a laugh in the chat, in our very well respected chat, it has to be said, on YouTube. So our thoughts are with Gary. There is a way that you can help him. if you are in the chat today and you buy a computer and you're able to help, they've got a GoFundMe page which is on our posts. I can't put it in the chat because the link is too big. But if you go to the GoFundMe, whatever you can, it would be much appreciated. I've been pushing it this morning, but as I say, on our community posts on here, you will be able to find it. And as I say, the GoFundMe target was £3,500, which of course is going to go to the family. They're at £2,932 now. But if you can go on there and help them, it will go a long way to the kids. There we go. I've managed to put it into the chat. I found a friendly version for YouTube. So I'll pin that. There you go. If you can help in any way, shape or form, whether it's £1, £2, £20, whatever you can put in, please do. But Gary Finnegan, rest in peace. And I will give a shout out to that GoFundMe page if required on subsequent shows, just so they get to the total that they want to. Okay, let's move on and let's get to your question. None in the chat at the moment, but I can ask you is always prepared. And John, as always, has dropped me an email with some questions, and I'll tackle them forthwith. So here we are. John, question 1. We've just beaten Benfica 3-0 in the Champions League, and it was almost like it was routine, to be expected, no problem. Win tonight and we're through to the quarterfinals. We're moving on up in the league, and the FA Cup hasn't even started yet. Is there a danger some mags might start taking things for granted and become a little entitled? Remember where we were 5 years ago. Good question, John. And I mean, nobody can speak for fans in general. I know I won't take it for granted. It's just nice, isn't it, though, not to have that horrendous feeling of doom 2 or 3 games into a season and you find that you're rock bottom of the league and the only thing that you've got to play for is relegation and stop being in that relegation position. We really do hope that, those days are long gone, sorry. And for me, that's what you want to see. You want to see Newcastle United challenging time and time again in the Champions League and the Premier League and in the domestic cups. That's what you want to see. So I don't think the majority of fans will become entitled at all. I think what we've seen at other clubs, we've seen it at Manchester City. We've seen, fans dropping off, not going to all the games, not going to the Carabao Cup games. Could I say that happening at Newcastle? Not at the moment. Not at the very precipice of being a really successful team. But 10 years' time, if Newcastle have gone on to win Champions League or Premier League or FA Cup or whatever, could I see the Carabao Cup being looked upon as a trophy too many for some fans? Could I see a bigger stadium being half empty on a game like that? It could happen. And I think a lot of that isn't down to becoming entitled. I think a lot of that is down to the ever-raising prices. And we're just starting to see that now. It's in James's Park. Success costs the fan in the pocket. And, Manchester City's fans, have got that kind of, way that Newcastle fans have. They've been at rock bottom as far as they were concerned, and they've risen, they've risen like a phoenix from the flames. And, they've seen the team win the Premier League, the FA Cup, Champions League. Now, what's next? What's next? And, you do see them drop off in those Carabao Cup games. But yeah, I don't think it's an entitlement. I don't think it's a, we're going to win this. You do feel, though, as time goes on, that relegation is never dreamt of. That you would look at it and say, well, we might not win the league and we might not qualify for Europe, but we're not going to go down. It can become almost like that kind of complacency. But with the owners that we have, the manager that we've got at the moment and the team and the players that we've got and continue to build on, relegation is almost like a distant memory. But it can change. Did Manchester United 25 years ago ever envisage a position or a season where, they were just off the relegation positions? Did they ever see a future where they weren't winning the Premier League? Of course they didn't. But time changes. Football teams change. Owners change, managers change, and players change. And that's the difference. It's, football's changed as well. The rules, the regulations, and the laws change. And, from our perspective, we really have arrived. We've won a trophy. We've arrived in the we've arrived in the big time, and the Carabao Cup is just the start. I'd love to see Newcastle retain the Carabao Cup and qualify for Europe again this season. That would do me. But you really look at what's happening at this moment in time, and after 2 wins in the Champions League, you think that Newcastle really could qualify for the next stage and get that £10 million in the bank. That's a win. That's a financial win. And that money can be put back into the club and, helps our PSR. But yeah, as Jules says, we take the rough with the smooth and we'll support you evermore. Hope you're feeling a bit better, Jules, and hopefully see you Saturday. But yeah, I don't think the majority of fans will become entitled, John. I really don't. Speak for myself, though. I certainly won't. Enjoy the ride. I hope, what I'd love to see is that fans become a bit more realistic and a bit more relaxed. Don't get too stressed when things don't go your way, because it will right itself, and we've got the right manager. We've got a manager really who could be, in essence, in charge of our football club as long as he continues to do what he's doing. He could be like Fergie at Man United. He could be here for a hell of a long time. Amazing, really. Amazing. From Neil says he's been sorting his old VHS tapes to DVD, and I found excellent quality version of you on that footballer. Oh yes, the Footballers Football Show program with Bestie Phil Thompson, Sir John on Sky, etc. Back in '93. I know you already have this. Hey Neil, if you reach out to us on social media, on Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn, whichever, I wouldn't mind a copy of it, because the copy I've got was horrendous. I mean, it would be nice to watch the whole show as well. I don't think I ever had the whole show. I think I probably did back in the day, but like you, I think I recorded the Sheffield Wednesday game, and I think that game, because I was at the match, 1-4-2. That was an Alex Matthew goal, wasn't it? And I remember we did the show straight after that or before it, I'm not sure. But it was straight after. But yeah, I'm not sure whether I got the whole show. But yeah, it was great, that. God, quite a few faces in that crowd as well, Neil, who you recognise. I think there's a few people who I recognise in them. I think my brother's on there. I think one of my best mates is on there as well at the time, who used to sell the fanzine. Sure, there's a couple of other fanzine editors there. I think Dennis Taylor, who goes home and away, is on there as well. Not the snooker player. He was working for another fanzine. But yeah, brilliant, Neil. Brilliant. Thanks for sharing that. Rob, our designer, hope you're well, son. Chatting to my mates today, and they called Big Nick the German, Peter Crouch. What's your take on this? Yeah, I've seen a lot of references about Big Nick being similar to Peter Crouch, and I tell you what, it's a great testament to how well he's settled in the Premier League, because he's scoring goals with his head, he's scoring goals with his feet, and his link-up play is excellent. So I think that comparison is great, and I think he also has the same kind of mentality. He also seems very laid back and chilled. Eddie made reference to it in his press conference the other day that, he's got his own character, he's got his own style. But, he really has settled in. And, like everybody else, I think we were all wondering what on earth we were going to do in this opening couple of months of the season without Wissa, because what Wissa was bringing us was goals, but what Voldemort was bringing us was unknown, and we were looking at him and thinking, is this really gonna help? And I think as well, the way Eddie set up the team at the start of the season, I think that's why we've been quite defensive, because it's probably helped Voldemort settle in. And now that we know his style of play, now that the players know his style of play, I think once Wissa comes back and starts hitting the ground running, I think we're quite an unknown quantity then, because Newcastle can switch it more than they've been able to in the past. Because yeah, Wilson and Isak weren't exactly similar, but they were both foxes in the boxes and goal scorers. And having a player like Voldemort who sits deep and lets other midfielders bomb on, it means we can change our pattern of play during the game. And that really is quite worrying and frustrating for other clubs, which is great for us. But yeah, 100%, mate. He is like Peter Crouch. There's no doubt about it. Davey Eddy says, Steve, we've got a different mindset now. It's a positive feeling like we're going to do well and be successful. I think it'll continue. We are a different club now. Davey, I really, really do agree, mate. And yeah, it's, the Stockholm syndrome's gone. The cup final win really just evaporated that kind of feeling, didn't it? It got rid of that feeling of, oh, we're always going to be the bridesmaid, never the bride. It did for Spurs as well last season, of course. But yeah, I think as players and as fans, you've got a different mindset because you are winners. So yeah, 100%, mate, I agree. And I think that gets you through games which, Newcastle would have lost previously. But if you told me we would be 5 points, 5 points off the, the top four, and in at the last 16 of the Carabao Cup, and we had 6 points on the board in the Champions League, I'd snap your hands off, because it's only October. We're going into November, but Newcastle United are in a good place at this moment in time. Remember not to get swept up in social media and other content that encourage, and they do despite how they present it, fans to get whipped to a frenzy. Keep a level head for yourself. Very good stuff. Yeah, 100%. Really, really agree. And I think I've just got the email of the Footballers Football Show. So thank you for that. Much appreciated. You know who you are. And Tell, I hope you're well, mate. Just arriving into a beautiful sunny Newcastle. Here's hoping I'm still as happy at full time tonight. Hoping. Let us know if you've got tickets for West Ham and Brentford, mate. I'm down, so maybe able to get a catch up. I know West Ham's going to be a nightmare because I think the first train doesn't get into London until about 12:30. But let us know, mate, if you're at either of those games, and might be able to meet up maybe before Brentford. Philip Shuttleworth, afternoon, everyone. Looking forward to hopefully beating Spurs tonight, retain our Carabao Cup, and then for a cup double. And glad to hear you're on the mend. And yeah, Saturday will be a good day, Jules, so get yourself over and enjoy your lunch break. Stephen, what we need is refs to start doing their job and not letting defenders get away with hanging on to the likes of Voldemort's shirt and then acting all innocent. You know what? That's a really good point. Stephen, discussed it briefly last night on Talk of the Tune. It's verging on assault what's happening to Voldemort, and yet he's not getting a free kick. It's ludicrous. It really is ludicrous to see, the fouls being committed. And I made a reference to Sunday League. That's what it's like. It's, I remember like my brother playing Sunday League in the same team as me, and I think he got like an elbow in the face of a kid who was about 5'8". My brother's 6'4", 6'5", and he got an elbow in his face, and the referee didn't give a free kick, and he says, "Oh, you took it well," and it was like, well, that's similar to what's happening with Voldemort. It's almost like because he's a big lad, he should be able to take it, and that's not the rules of the game. The rules of the game are very simple. If there's a foul, if you're pulling someone's shirt, if you're bloody headlocking somebody, or if you're grabbing somebody's arm and preventing them from moving forward, then that's a foul, and the free kick should be given, and a yellow card should be given, depending on how many times that person, or depending on how many, how bad that particular foul is. So I just think it's crazy, the kind of stuff that Voldemort has got to go through, and it is crazy. Les says new VAR rules are being considered, allowing them to interfere with second yellows. Oh, I didn't know this, Les. Interfere with second yellows. Okay, so that means if someone has someone has a handball, a deliberate handball, and they're booked, or for chucking the ball away, and they've got a yellow card, then they get another yellow card, which could result in a sending off, then VAR can intervene and ask them to go and look at the screen and overturn it. So is that any different to what's happening now? Can they not do that? If it's a second yellow, they've got to go. I honestly, rules of football in this country at this moment in time are becoming so complicated. It's no the wonder. It's no the wonder that none of us know what on earth is going on. Also looking at throw-ins, yeah. Well, the timing thing, yeah, I've heard that. I heard that yesterday, so I didn't realise VAR rules were being considered. The throw-in thing's interesting, and I mean, they're making out that throw-ins have become such a big thing now. You know that long throws are back, and you know, were long throws ever away? You know, it's just because one or two teams have suddenly started doing it, you know, on a regular basis now. But you know, maybe long throws didn't exist in the Premier League because we lost the likes of Stoke. But it's always been part of the game. I don't know why it's suddenly a big thing. The kickoff thing was interesting. The kickoff thing was certainly new. It was something that you looked at and you thought, you know, they're kicking the ball out to play deliberately and then pushing everybody up. So, you know, that was new. That was different. But as for long throws, etc., I don't know. But rule changes in general, is it good to have all these rule changes? It's a pain, I guess. It's a nightmare for us as fans because, you know, we really need to look at, making the game simpler, I think, for people and making it easier for referees and for the VAR officials. Simple as that, really. Benny, good afternoon. Does Voldemort need to get better at buying fouls like Shearer used to? Thinking especially back to when Gabriel punched him in the face and rather than jump on the ground holding his face, he argued. Now, Benny, I said yes to this. I said that he needs to do that, but having listened to his explanation after the match where he said, I don't like to do that, is it something that he can just suddenly learn to do? He's saying it was almost as if it went against his moral compass to cheat, which you've got to admire the guy for. In a lot of ways, you've got to tip your hat off to him and say, what a refreshing change. But on the flip side of that, you know, if it's going to cost your team points, then don't you just follow in the same vein as everybody else? And when in England, do what the English do, if that makes sense. I just think it's, as Stephen says, two wrongs don't make a right. It's up to the refs to put things right. You're reporting you didn't know it, Stephen. But it's so difficult because every other bugger's doing it. And Voldemort not. And we are going to come a cropper. And I guess as well, I mean, you're advertising by interview and you're advertising it to other defenders and midfielders now. You know, if you hit me in the face, it's okay. I'm not going to go down. So are they more likely to foul him because he's come out and said that? You know, I've got to be honest. If I was a manager managing against him, I would say, you know, get into him, get away with as much as you can because he's not going to complain. So it's an interesting debate. But what I would say, Benny, is even if Eddie and Jason Tyndall say do this, I don't think he will. Benny says he doesn't like do, and I don't like to do that. Doesn't cut it for me. Players are on the pitch to win a football match for the team. That's a job. What would every Arsenal player have done? We know. Yeah, and the players who played for Eddie previously have all done it as well. They've got used to it, you know. Noticed how many times this season the refs have given a corner for the keeper holding onto the ball too long. At the weekend, I think I was only the second time this season. Yeah, Phil, that's another great point. And you know why? Because referees, I think, and assistant officials, they're all the same. They're all the same as us. The fans of the game, and they must just be scratching their heads at some of the rule changes. It's why the 6-second rule died a death. Everyone just collectively decided, players and officials alike, let's just forget about it, you know. And that's why they don't do it. It's a rule of the game which they should apply, but they don't. And I don't know why they don't, other than they must collectively, either subconsciously or deliberately just decide, oh, look, just crack on, It's a strange scenario, isn't it? It's a strange scenario. People don't like change. I guess footballers and officials just aren't any different to us sitting at home or sitting in the stands. The Premier League is full of teams who practice the dark arts, something that is more prevalent when watching games. Arsenal are excellent at it. Arsenal took our guidebook. They 100% looked at what we did that season, that we really disappointed them by taking points off them left, right, and centre. And they've just copied our guidebook. Arteta's copied us, and taken a leaf out of our book. There's no doubt about it. Surely officials are aware of what's going on and should penalise actual fouls. You would think so, Les, but the problem is that everybody's eyes are on the referee, and I just think referees have become lazy. I just think they've become lazy. They just rely on VAR to sort the issue out now. They don't use their own minds at times, and maybe they're almost being conditionalized in this way because of VAR. So I just think sometimes they're prepared to let it go to VAR and hope for the best. So yeah, I think standard of refereeing is getting worse, like Sid said last night. Spanish teams taking a stand against playing league games abroad. Do you think it should be a warning of what some club owners are trying to bring in? Yeah, and anyone who thinks that it's a good idea to play any domestic game abroad, you're losing the plot. By all means, go and play pre-season friendlies and, the odd end of season friendly abroad. But please don't take league games abroad. It's never going to work. You're going to get hit with, a lot of protests from supporters. And yeah, I just completely disagree with it. So fair play to the Spanish teams for making a stand. Dave says, I've noticed Bruno doesn't get as many fouls as he did, was always very good at buying fouls. The refs seem to have cottoned on. The one person who can still buy a foul in our team is Kieran Trippier. He's excellent at it. But yeah, I think Bruno goes down too theatrically and makes too much of it. I think Kieran Trippier is a lot smarter and doesn't make a meal of it. I think I can only think of the game at the weekend where he didn't get the foul this season so far. But you can see what Trips is doing, and I think no matter what level of football you've played at, I think we've all seen Trippier do what we've probably done in our own playing careers on a Sunday or a Saturday or whatever. You can sell a free kick, but he's an expert at it. But Bruno, yeah, you're right, definitely. Doesn't look like he's getting the rub of the green at the minute. Question for Steve: with Newcastle finishing on 66 points last season, do you think we can get closer towards that target? Tom, yes, of course I do. I think Newcastle will finish fifth still. I haven't changed my mind. And I do feel, like I said on Three's a Crowd at the weekend, that Newcastle United, before Christmas, before the derby, will be above Sunderland. I think Newcastle will be up where they belong, in the top five. And I'm very confident, Tom, that we'll hit 66 plus. Arsenal have copied us, done it better, equipped with the ability to spend more money than us, and now every team has copied us in terms of how to play against Liverpool from the League Cup final. Benny, they've copied us from the league game this season. We should have had 3 points this season, should have had 3 points last season and the season before. Got to win those games in future, but that'll do for when we're running them close for the title. Bruno's no longer playing as a six and naturally doesn't draw as many fouls now, in my opinion, says Ben. Get some more questions in. I'm going to have a quick ad break. I'll be back after this. A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. You can find them at their website, skipsandbins.com. Contact them at www.skipsandbins.com/contact. Say hello to low-cost waste disposal with pay-as-you-go and contract waste management. A big thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. You can find them at their website, mrvickies.co.uk, email info@mrvickies.co.uk, or telephone 01768 210 102. Thanks to our fanzine sponsor, United Group Travel. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. 2 crew driver and courier, local family company, 3-star plus quality hotels and no interchanges. Hot and cold snacks and drinks available on the coach. All excursions included. Their website, unitedgrouptravel.com, email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com, telephone 01670 632 460 or 0791 666 4174. Just £30 per person deposit. Thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the technical side of things. And if you like listening to us as a podcast, you can go to Sports Social Podcast Network or to iTunes, Spotify, or other podcast providers. If you want to support the show, then hit the subscribe button. It's free. We do 7 shows a week. Hit the little thumb up under the video, which is the like button, or click share to share to your social media. You can also join the channel on YouTube by hitting the join button for as little as $1.99 a month. If you want to become an NUFC Matters member, you can go to nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk. It's a £25 one-off fee. You get your pen, you get your badge, a key ring, you get your beer mat and your fridge magnet and your membership card, nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk for that. And we have an event early next year, 13th of February 2026, an evening with Beardsley, Waddle and Gascoigne takes place at the Tyne Theatre and Opera House. To buy your tickets for that event, go to the box office 0191 243 1171 or Tyne Theatre and Opera House.uk. Okay, welcome back. It is a live Q&A with me, Steve Wraith. So we will crack on with the questions. Let's go back to another one of John's to start with. He says, we're still a work in progress on and off the field. If things don't work out this season on the pitch, is it important we all keep our heads as the future is still very bright? We play a lot of football this season, and while squad depth is improving, we're still not there yet, so we need to be realistic this season. Any thoughts? John, I don't think there'll be a failure this season. And I know I've been very confident since the start of the season that would be the case. And I know that my confidence doesn't mean that that's going to happen, but I genuinely do feel that we'll be fine. In the worst case scenario that things do go pear-shaped and Newcastle United don't qualify for Europe and don't win a trophy, of course it's important that people keep their heads. There will be a lot of negativity if that happened around the club about Eddie Howe. There'll be question marks over his position as manager. But this is just football, and Eddie will be used to it, and we're used to it. I think he will be given another chance if Newcastle did do that. If Newcastle finished, let's say, 12th, and didn't win a trophy, then I think that there would be head scratching at PIF. But I genuinely think, from our perspective, that we will be in a good position. That they will still go with them and still give them the opportunity to manage. And then if you got up to a bad start the following season, then they may look to appoint another manager. That's the way it is. But Newcastle fans need to keep their heads. Yeah, of course they do. And I do think people will. There will be the minority on social media who'll have a pop, etc. But you know what? It's all very positive, and I think the momentum will continue from last season, and I still think Newcastle will qualify for Europe at the very worst, but also win a trophy this season. I'm still very confident of winning a trophy. What do I think the starting 11 will be tonight? My mind's changed since the fans forum, having listened to Eddie's press conference, but I do think he'll go big still. And I think he'll go his big guns. I do feel Ramsdale will be in goal. I do think that he'll go probably. I might go 4-4-2. No, not 4-4-2. The usual 4-3-3. I think he wants to win this cup again. Listening to what he said last night, but he also has to bear in mind that some players aren't fully fit. So I'm going to go Botman and Chow in the middle, and I'm going to go the same full backs as we had at the weekend. I'm going to go 3 in the middle. I'm going to say that Tonali gets a recall, and I think he will still go with Joe Linton, and I think he'll go Bruno as well. I think he'll go with those 3 in the midfield. I think he'll then go Anthony Gordon on the left. On the right-hand side, I think he will go with Alanga. And up front, I think he'll go Voltemara. I don't think there'll be huge changes, but there'll be changes. That's what I feel. Is it just me? But it appears linesmen tend to see what the ref is blown for rather than raising their flag immediately when they see an infringement. It almost feels, doesn't it, as if referees' assistants don't have the same kind of respect as they used to in the past. And I don't know whether this is since the fourth official came around. You know, the fourth official is there and seems to have a lot more to say and do, whereas the referee's assistant flags for offside and throw-ins, and that's it. They don't. I know what you're saying, and they do tend to go with what the ref says. It is bizarre. It is very strange. It really is. But yeah, I agree with you. You think Asula will start with Ramsdale? I don't think Asula will start, Darren. I think it'll be Voltamara. I really, really don't see Asula getting that kind of start in a big game like this. I think Asula's better, like Barnes is at coming on, but it's a flip of a coin at the minute with Eddie picking the team, and I just think he wants to win this game, and this is a tough game. Spurs at home, good away team at the moment. You know, they're ticking all the boxes away from home. I think if he gambles too much, we could come a cropper. So you want to win this. You want to win this game, and to win your game, you put your best team out, don't you? You really, really do. That's what I would say anyway. Gary says, Steve, excluding Newcastle of the other 19 clubs, who's your favourite player and why? Ooh, good question. Not had that one before. Mo Salah at Liverpool, I would say. Quality player, great goals. I mean, he was terrible at Chelsea, if you remember. But what a player. Quality, great finisher and exciting to watch. So Liverpool, I would say Mo Salah, no doubt about it. And you know, you look at other teams, and yeah, other teams have got good players, but he's probably one of the best players that we've had in the Premier League. And at Man City, no doubt about it. I'd love to see Haaland in black and white. I wish we'd managed to sign him as a kid. He's like Alan Shearer, isn't he? He's a big lump of a lad, knows where the goal is, and can score all types of goals. Be great. To win the League Cup back-to-back, that would be something. Darren, you're right, mate. You're right. Spurs played a strong squad in the last round, didn't they? Yeah, but again, you know, he's not a poor manager at all, Thomas Frank. But Eddie Howe's got the better of him 6 times out of 7 so far. So let's hope it's the same. And Spurs don't travel well to Newcastle. They might be good on the road, but they're not very good at Newcastle. But they are missing a few players. So, you know, let's see what happens. Kulowski against Burn scares the hell out of me. I'm not 100% sure. Is Kulowski available tonight? Let me just double check here. I did do this yesterday. Basuma, Ben Davies, Radu Dragazin, Dejan Kalevski, James Madison, and Koto Takai are all ruled out of tonight's game. Christian Romero, Dominic Solanke, Destiny Udogie are unlikely to feature as well, but definitely ruled out of game. So yeah, injured trolls. There's some good news for you. A very good afternoon, Ian. Everyone watching, hope you're well and having a great day. It's my wife's birthday. Her name is Lisa Barron, and it's our 14th wedding anniversary today. Ian, happy anniversary, and Lisa, happy birthday. I hope a really good night, and I hope that Newcastle United's 3 points is your best, your best present, your progress. Sorry, to the next round, not 3 points. Stephen, take care, mate. Thank you for tuning in. Much appreciated. How long we've got left? 20 minutes. Get some more questions in. I've got another couple from John. Would you prefer Europa League qualification for next year, as we would have a chance of the trophy, an automatic Champions League qualification if we win it, and a top 5 finish this season might prove a challenge? The answer is no, John. I want Champions League, because Newcastle United need to have Champions League season after season after season to get the money in the bank that they need. And yeah, PSR rules might change and things might change and it might all become academic, but it's a good habit to getting into that. You get into the Europa, if you get into the Europa and you don't win it, then you don't get Champions League, and then you're back to square one. And if you haven't then managed to qualify for Europe, that's 2 years without Champions League. So, for me personally, Champions League or bust, really. I'd rather not have that kind of situation develop in Newcastle. Champions League for me. Fair play, Ian. Married on her birthday, one less anniversary date to remember. Very good, Rob. Never thought of that. And Ian says, thanks very much, everybody watching. Trolls says, would you buy Anderson for the price that's been put on him? I wouldn't buy Anderson back, Trolls, at this moment in time because he doesn't fit into the team as is. And I'm a Lewis Miley fan. I think Lewis Miley is proving his critics wrong. And I seem to be almost sailing in a boat on my own on this at times on this platform with people who come on the show, not necessarily people in the chat. I think Lewis Miley's playing well. Sid yesterday was saying he had a good game against Benfica, but didn't play well at the weekend. I thought he played well at the weekend, and I think he's going to suffer from Sean Longstaff syndrome. I think from his perspective, he's going to get, he's just going to get hammered, by people because he's the local lad. He's a good player. He's 19, for God's sake. Give him a chance. So no, I wouldn't buy Anderson back. I know Anderson would come back. I think he'd love to come back. But the price would need to be realistic, and he's going to want first team football. He's got into the England team now. You could say at this moment in time he's an England international and he's a regular for England, and he's got ambitions. So why would he want to come back to Newcastle and sit on the bench? The only way he would come back to Newcastle if he's guaranteed first team football, and at this moment in time with the midfield, he's not guaranteed first team football. If Joe Linton left, for example, yeah, maybe there's an opportunity there. But is there any chance that Joe Linton's leaving in the next season or 2 seasons? I doubt it. I really don't think so. So the answer to your question, Jed's very simple. I don't think we'll go for Anderson. I love the kid a bit. He was a great player, and I was gutted to see him leave. But I don't think we'll go for Anderson at all. It's Anderson's last season at Forest. Whatever happens, I wouldn't spend that type of money on him. No, and I what's the quote? £80 million. You know what? It's ludicrous. It really is ludicrous. I don't think that Newcastle United would spend that kind of money on him. It's embarrassing as well that we've had to get rid of him. Yeah, okay, it's because of PSR, but it's embarrassing to say that you've let him go for 15 million, really, if you take off the goalkeepers. The goalkeeper exchange, and it's just so frustrating. It really is. I'd love to have seen him stay and progress, but that wasn't the case. We'll just have to wait and see what the future holds. I'm sure he'd love to come back, though. That's the difference. He'd love to come back. I don't understand criticism aimed at a 19-year-old lad playing a Premier League level after coming through the ranks. No, me neither, Les. Miley's done well, in my opinion, says Trolls. Controversial take, but was losing Mindy a bigger annoyance than Anderson. Seems like he would fit our system like a glove. I mean, Mindy had never played for Newcastle. That's the thing with Mindy. He never featured in a first team game for Newcastle, so it didn't feel like you were losing a player there like you had with Anderson. But Mindy would have fitted the system, and Eddie was disappointed losing both. I don't think he had as much faith in Minty as he did Anderson, of course, but yeah, losing both of those players was a huge blow, and that was because of PSR. And this is why qualifying for the Champions League season after season after season is so important, because it means we don't have to make those kind of decisions again, and it means another one of our rivals isn't getting into the Champions League, which is affecting them and pulling us closer to them. Jed agrees. Good stuff, Jed. Hope you and the family are well, mate. The worst thing we have, no sell-on clause in him now, but if he goes for 80 million, 120 million is some have quoted in the last 2 days. I can't see him going for 120 million, but 80 million sounds as about right in this kind of market. Not having a sell-on clause, ludicrous, but that could have been something to do with PSR, and it could have been something to do with Forest and the deal that they wanted to do. We were desperate. We were desperate at that time. We needed to make the deal to avoid punishment. So, not getting a sell-on as opposed to being deducted 10 points or whatever would have happened to us, it's academic, isn't it? It saved us from being punished. Agree with you, Steve. Love Miley this season, and when he plays, I watch him all the time, and only gave one pass away on Saturday. Still look for the ball after that, and every pass was made. Yeah, Phil, and he is doing things simple. But what do people want him to do? Do World Cup balls across the pitch and give the ball away and put us under pressure? You want him to do the simple stuff first. but he's getting bigger, he's getting better, and he's an exciting prospect. And he scores goals. He knows, he's not afraid to have a dig, Phil. That's the big thing about Miley. I'm very positive that Miley's going to come through and be an England international and do well at Newcastle. I really am. Look at what Minty has done at Brighton, and his attributes: a left footer cutting in with an eye for goal. That'll only get better. Yeah, you're right, Benny. I'm not disagreeing with you on Minty at all. I think Minty was equally as much of a blow as Anderson. But I think from Eddie's point of view, he didn't want either to go. So that's where we are, that literally is where we are, with PSR, and that's why it is, not wanting to sound like a broken record, that that's why we've got to finish in the Champions League. Trolls, thanks for joining in. Hope you are good. I'm back tomorrow, Trolls, by the way, Thursday night, 6 o'clock with Supermac. But bear in mind, those of you in the chat, next week is going to be all over the place. The Amigos, for example, is one of the Amigos is next Tuesday. We've got the Amigos this week, Friday, but the Amigos next week's Tuesday. We're all over the place with me being away and various other things. So got a bit of work on and up and down to London quite a bit, as well, as you would imagine with the games. Miley's got an excellent temperament. Can't buy that. You're right there, Les. Let's get back to another one of John's questions. Will tonight go to penalties? No, John, it won't. Two good teams battling it out for a place in the quarterfinals. It won't be cat and mouse. I've gone for a 2-1 win, but I have a feeling Newcastle might get another goal, tonight. I think it could be 3-1. We could be getting the penman tonight. But I genuinely think that Newcastle will make it in normal time. I just don't see penalties tonight. I really, really don't. If it goes to penalties, you used to dread it, didn't you, with Newcastle? But Newcastle and penalty shootouts have been good in recent seasons. So if it did go to penalties, you wouldn't be too concerned. You would like to think that Newcastle have got the players there now to get themselves into a good position, and that'll be it. John's final question: if we finish 10th in the league and win the Carabao Cup, will that be a good season? It's similar to what you asked before, John. No, it won't be, because we won't have qualified for the Champions League, and that would be disappointing. Finishing 10th is no good to Newcastle United these days. And that's not being unrealistic, because the squad we've got this season is better than the squad we had last season, and that means that the squad and the team and the manager will have failed if we finish 10th. It means and winning the Carabao Cup is great, yes, and that's another trophy, and you've retained it, and fantastic. But the bread and butter is the league, and there's no way in the world that Eddie and Jason Tindall and Graham Jones, etc., have set themselves for a 10th place finish this season. And imagine what that would do in the dressing room. The players would be disappointed. It really would be disappointing to finish 10th, and the chances of holding on to big name players, is increasingly difficult if you have that kind of finish. And yeah, they've only got themselves to look at and point at, but if a big club that's got Champions League, comes calling in the summer, then don't be surprised if a player had his head turned if Newcastle hadn't qualified for the Champions League. At least if you got Europa, then at least you've got some European football and go, okay, well, it was our fault, and we'll put it right next season. We'll know there's players coming in, but we've had a bad run of injuries or whatever. You just it's one of them. But yeah, no, it's a terrible scenario I don't even want to dream of, John. Do you think we'll buy in January? Yes, I do, Jed, 100%. And I think that it'll be the plans will already be there. I think Ross will have come in and looked at what he needs to, looked at what Eddie's list is, and he'll be watching the games now. He's obviously in the dressing room at the end, and he's looking at things and thinking, right, okay, I know what I want now. So I think he'll have a list. He'll have an amount he can spend. And I think Newcastle United will go out and do some business in January. I certainly do. And again, outgoings, will there be outgoings? I think Eddie always prefers to keep a hold of what he's got mid-season. But outgoings in the summer, no doubt about it. There will be players out of contract who won't be signing a new deal, and they'll be gone. Have you heard anything more about Graham Jones going with Potter in Sweden part-time? No, not at all. But I think Graham Jones looks very weak at Newcastle. I think they'd have to drag Graham Jones out of Newcastle, and I think the only time Graham Jones would go is if there was an acrimonious partner of the waves with Eddie Howe. I think Jonesy's happy here, and I don't think the challenge of being involved with Sweden at international level is something that he'd want. I mean, why would he do that? That they're not even going to the World Cup, are they? By the looks of it, and I'm sure he's had enough of Isaac. So no, the answer is no on that. I have not heard anything about it, but if you want my opinion, if I had to toss a coin and say, is he going or isn't he going, I'd say he's not going. Thoughts on if we could upgrade the stadium rather than build a new one, but rather do that one stand at a time? Yeah, Phil, I mean, I've always said that I would be happy to stay at St James's Park if they could increase. I think I've told many people on here when I worked at the club in early 2000 for a couple of years as fans liaison officer that David Stonehouse had showed me the plans of a cantilever stand, built on top of the listed buildings, going over the top of the east stand. It's possible. The cost of building that stand alone was more than it would have cost in 2000 to build a new stadium. So yeah, I'm not going to diss the idea, but I haven't watched a recorded Football Focus when I was at the match at the weekend, and haven't listened to Alan Shearer talking about Leazes Park. Alan's very careful what he says. He doesn't work for the club, of course, but he was at the club being interviewed. Then he interviewed Eddie Howe, but he was asked about the ground, and Alan's very careful what he says, and I think everything still alludes to it being built on Leazes Park, but timing of it will be very important, and I think Newcastle will go for the training facilities first. Once the training facilities have been built, then I think that Newcastle will then make some kind of announcement about the ground. What we have to be prepared for is huge opposition. There will be opposition. There'll be opposition from people who live there. There'll be people who've got businesses there, and there'll be people who use the park, and there'll be the anti-Saudi brigade. So Newcastle will not want to be embarrassed. PIF will not want to be embarrassed. So they will tick as many boxes as they can before there is any kind of announcement on a stadium. And I don't think we'll see a new stadium until, if there's a spade goes in the ground before 2030, I'll be surprised. I think we'll be sitting like this for a while. I think the biggest giveaway to how long this is going to take was when the Stack renewed its license for another, was it 3 or 4 years? Which tells you that once a new stadium's built, you'd expect the Stack to be within touching distance of the ground, not a walking distance, but right next to the ground. And I think the new Stack could be incorporated within the ground, in the facilities of the ground. So I think 2030 for a spade in the ground, 2032 for a new stadium. That's what I think. But they've got to get the permission, and they've got to get things right with those people who live in that kind of area. Steve, if there's money to spend in January, what positions do you think the money will be spent on? Well, I don't have any inside information on what I think. I can tell you what I think they need to do. They need to start concentrating on backup fullbacks. So we need another left back and another right back, and we need another centre forward, a goal scorer. So those are the positions that we need to improve on. And we still need a lock picker in the centre of midfield. We still need a creative player, a Peter Beardsley type. So yes, there is money to spend, and they need to start putting money into the academy. Once the training facilities have been built, once they've got the ideas on what they're doing with the new ground, but up the money that's going into the academy and build those links with Wallsend Boys Club, Red Youth Boys, Newcastle East End, whatever. Build your links with those local boys clubs, and you'll have a conveyor belt like Brighton, like Bournemouth, like Southampton have over the years. Make sure you put your money into the academy. That's what you should do. But yeah, there'll be money to spend. I wonder if we get a loan to buy option this January. Ross seems to have a good eye on the South American market, possibly. You never know. That could be something that we'll look at. Why is Anderson's last season of Forest out of contract? I don't know, Andrew. I read that out, but I wasn't sure. I don't know what the situation is on his contract. If I'm perfectly honest. And there are big clubs looking to sign him. Manchester City, Chelsea, Liverpool are all keen on signing him. I've seen that as well. Hoping Ramsey gets a start tonight. He could be our lock picker. Yeah, he's a good player, Les. A tad injury prone at times, but yeah, I do like Ramsey. I was at Leeds, of course, to see him this season and played very, very well before the injury. And what I've seen of Ramsey is a few flashes of brilliance, and it gives a different a different feel to a midfield when he's playing. So I get where you're coming from there. And to be honest, because he's been out for a while, I do tend to forget that we've got Ramsey. But yeah, not a bad signing, not a bad player. But I still feel like we could have another one in. But it's not the priority. Getting back up for Hall and Tino Livramento is essential. Kieran Trippier and Kraft aren't going to go on forever. Dan Burn can't keep playing at left back. Although I'd like to see him there tonight, and I think he will be. But yeah, we need full back up, and we need another forward. Steve, what's your thoughts on the stack? Is it for the greater good of the club regarding a boost to income, or is it bad because it takes trade away from surrounding pubs and bars? Can see both sides. I mean, Benny, I've never been in. I keep saying I'm never going to go, and I know there was an email came out about the 2028 championships coming to St James's Park, and there's been an official invite go out, and it's like to season ticket holders. Now I've applied for it. I might go. If I get a ticket, I might go because I'm free that night. It's great because it's bringing income in. Let's get this straight. One of our directors who said it was, it was pints for players. It's not. You don't go and buy a pint and suddenly buy a left toe of a striker. It's not. That's not the way it works. But it's a great income source for Newcastle. It's great for those people who maybe can't go to the games and who get a chance to watch, the games in there, the away games and stuff. It gets chock-a-block for that. But it's good as an income. But I get it. I used to work in Newcastle City Centre. I know that it will be affecting the bars, and it's a downside to it. Because it's open 24/7. It's open for lots of things, and it caters for everybody and everybody's taste, food and drinks wise. So I understand Benny as well, but is there a right? Is there a wrong? It's all about competition. I've worked in retail. I've worked in event management. When people are trying to put events on the same time as I'm putting an event on, I guess it just makes you up your game. If you've got a competitor in any kind of work related sector, then if you get a competitor who comes along and does one thing, then you just need to up your game. And that might sound harsh, but that's what you've got to do. So how do you get other people to go to your boozer on a match day? Well, drop your prices maybe, or, put something a bit different on. But when I come through Newcastle City Centre for a match day, none of the bars look like they're struggling to me. But you've got to listen to what them say. And, certain people have come out, and I think it was a coalition of people that had put their names to things and said they weren't very happy about it. So, yeah, they know better than me. But yeah, I see both sides, Benny. I really do. That's life, law of the jungle. I agree, Steve. Well, that's it. I've got through all your questions. I hope you enjoyed tonight. I'm going for a 2-1 win, although I wouldn't be surprised if we do sneak in a third. Back tomorrow night, 6 o'clock live, me, Supermat and Gibbo. And then Friday night is the Amigos. That is the usual time of 5 o'clock. On Saturday morning, it's Three's a Crowd. And that will be at 10 a.m. And Sunday, it's a pre-record of the professionals because I'll be at West Ham. So, and the lads will be out on the High in Bahrain and Dubai, respectively. So, that's your full week covered. Next week, though, as I say, please be aware. Les, I'll leave this with you and the other moderators who are in the chat. And next week is going to be a little bit all over the place, but there'll still be 7 shows. Off the top of my head, I know we're doing the Fans Forum live on Monday. Tuesday night next week will be the Amigos live. Wednesday next week will be the pre-record of Talk of the Toon. And then Thursday, Supermat and Gibbo next week should be 11 in the morning, I think. And Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, it'll be pre-recorded shows next week. Probably those were the days. So there we go. Great stuff. Neil Charisma, I will reply to your email in due course. I'll ping you an address for you to drop that into. Thanks very much. Take care, everybody. Have a great night. And let's hope the Tuna in the quarterfinal draw by the time I next speak to you. Take care. Good night.